crazy. Bill, this got to be the greatest era in Kansas City football, right? Under Andy Reid right here.
Dan, it's crazy. I don't think fans really take the time to appreciate what's going on in middle of America here in this small market with the likes of what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing, 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. You go back over the last 10 years, we got 2 World Series from the Royals. We got KU national champions. I mean, things are going on in Kansas City right here, and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are at the top of it.
What's made Andy Reid different in Kansas City than he was in Philadelphia, Bill?
I think that, the first time you're thrown into that position, there's a learning curve. And look, he won a heck of a lot of games there, obviously, over his time in Philadelphia. But he got to do things his way when he came to Kansas City. They were at a place, Kansas City was really in the dumps when he got here and took over the job, and he got to put his people in place and operate not just the coaching side of it, but all of it collectively. Get his guys under him, form a team, structure a team, draft a team, understanding all the ins and outs of everything that he learned in Philadelphia over time, and he applied it. I also think, on-field stuff, Andy always believed that his offense, the way he did things from Bill Walsh and Mike Holmgren, that it didn't matter who played the wide receiver positions at that time in the game, that this offense would get the ball to open people. I now think he thinks a little bit different about it. I think he understands that the game now is that the speed at wide receiver, you have to have those guys to stretch the field vertically and horizontally.
Bill, I wonder if it's because there's less guardrails. And I think what you addressed there when you said he got to do things his way made it easier for him not to waste idle time, because, as you know, when you're in Philadelphia, you got to go through the general manager. You've got to go through Howie Roseman. You've got to go through Joe Banner. Then they take it upstairs. And it's like working for Ford Motor Company. I mean, there's every floor you've got to go through a conference meeting. After they got rid of John Dorsey in Kansas City, it just seems to me that the organization it seemed to run smoother. John's a great personnel guy.
Yeah.
But John's got his way about rubbing people the wrong way. I mean, if you've ever been in a room with him, I know you have, he's a rough dude to get around. I mean, and I think they kind of maybe collided a bit. It just seems to me that Andy now, hey, Tyreek, we can't afford you, man. It's just what it is. And for him to go to Patrick Mahomes, Bill, and go like this, I mean, if I'm Mahomes, Bill, I got to go, hey, man, you took the best deep threat in the history of the league away from me. How's this offense going to look? And Andy looks at him and goes, trust me, I got you. He breaks the season single record. He throws for 40 touchdowns. This guy's got the trust of that organization and Clark Hunt, I would think, like no other guy.
Yeah, you're right, going back to Dorsey. And Dorsey, remember, was the general manager who got Mahomes.
Right.
He knows personnel. He doesn't know salary cap. The salary cap was all kinds of messed up. And, this league is about salary cap as much as anything else. It creates windows, especially when you have star players making big salaries. So you have to be able to structure a team around that. And, they've been able to do that. Look, they went to Tampa Bay and got their butts handed to them by Tampa's defense. The offensive line couldn't handle it. They go out in one offseason and totally correct the offensive line, fix it overnight. And that doesn't happen. It's not just the offensive line positions. It's tough to do, to go say, identify a problem or weakness and then come in and say, okay, we're going to fix it. And this is how we're going to fix it. They did. They got 3 All-Pros on that line now. This past offseason, they used those draft choices to overhaul a complete secondary that had, 4 rookies playing in it in the AFC Championship game that showed up and showed out. I think that, hats off to the way that Brett Veach and Andy go about that and the job that they do as an organization from top to bottom.
I ask people this question all the time, and I think the Eagles are going to get into this position that the Kansas City Chiefs are in and why you have to let a guy like Tyreek Hill go. But Bill, this Eagle team, the only reason they're in the Super Bowl is because Hurts played exceptional all year. However, he's making $1.3 million. And when you are able to make $1.3 million and take advantage of that, you can go get Sue and Joseph. You can go get Hassan Reddick. You can sign A.J. Brown to a $25 million contract. When you start paying that dude, you don't have that latitude to do that. Would you rather build a team like Howie Roseman in Philadelphia is built, not paying the quarterback? Or would you rather have the $50 million quarterback and not – I mean, look, the running game is suspect. Like you said, you got two corners that are rookies starting for you in the Super Bowl. I mean, Chris Jones is great. Travis Kelce's great. But when you can't keep guys, if you don't have Mahomes, I don't know, man. What kind of team would you want to build?
You know, I think that people are going to take a page out of the way that Kansas City has structured this team. Look, they're paying the guy $500 million. He's got that contract. Now they have to find a ways to give him a supporting cast, both on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. And it's hard. So you have to do that. You have to know that you have to hit on your draft choices. There's really a minimal amount of error can be made on your draft choices. Because look at the Bengals, right? I mean, all those guys are on rookie contracts. When they come up, they're going to have to part ways. They can't keep that trio of wide receivers together with their quarterback and with their defensive players and with their two running backs. I mean, you have that window with the salary cap that allows you the affordability with rookie contracts to when you hit a big player, you got to ride it and you got to do the best you can. Then when you have to sign him to a long-term deal, you just don't give up. You just have to find ways through the draft to get the young guys and make them work.
Tell me about Chris Jones. I mean, I watch him this year. He's the best defensive tackle. The kid in Philadelphia, too. Bill, if you get a chance to watch the 22, you watch his kid Hardgrave, man. 11 sacks he had this year. I mean, he's a run stopper, man. He can get up the field, too. He gives you internal pressure. But Chris Jones is just – he's taken over for Aaron Donald. Just give me your assessment, having played the position, on what makes him so formidable.
Yeah, so the guy is explosive, strong, elusive, very quick twitch muscles with his get off and his hands. He's able to, I thought at times throughout his early 5-6 years, he would stand up too high. His pad level was really high. And sometimes he could get a pass rush, and sometimes he'd just stand there and mush around. Joe Cullen came on board as a defensive line coach and got him playing his pad level down a little bit lower. It's been very beneficial to him this year. But that quick twitch muscle he has, Dan, I mean, he gets into double teams and he can split guys with his hands, and he can his torso. He can turn his shoulders to the sidelines and still move upfield to split those double teams he's getting. And you watch him play and watch his handwork. It's really amazing. And to be able to do that at that position, as you know, there's only a handful of guys. And to be a defensive player of the year, which I think he should be, and play the defensive tackle position, not the defensive end position, the defensive tackle position, there's only a few handful of guys in the NFL, history of the NFL, that have been able to do that. And they are, you know, they're in Canton. And I think he will be too.
15 sacks from the DT position. It's not like the end getting 15 sacks. Your internal pressure getting something like that, I mean, that's just absolutely special. Bill, when you look at how they're going to approach this game here, I mean, give me your sense of how you see this thing playing out here, Eagles in Kansas City. How do you see this thing playing out here?
You know, as I look at it, just, you know, watching both teams throughout the course of the entire year, and I was watching Philly, I see a team in Philadelphia that defensively they are strong at the line of scrimmage. Their front seven is really good. It covers up some of the weakness they have on the backside, but they're disruptive. They obviously, with the number of sacks they had, they show that what they can do there on that aspect of it. Offensive line too, you know, one of the best in the league, hands down. But the biggest thing is you know, that zone run they have, that zone option. That option is
led by Kelce.
and he runs it really good.
God,
He runs it so good. You, as a defender, everything you're taught, Dan, everything you're taught how to read blocks, it uses it against you. So what you could never really be right, because whatever you read, whatever you sell yourself to, they're going to do the opposite. And so that's what makes it really, really challenging. A football aficionado will go back and think about the triple option that they used to run in college. And it's similar to that. It's what it is. It's putting a defensive line on an island and making them commit, and whatever they commit to, they go the other way. So it's very challenging, and Hurts runs it as good as anybody I've ever seen run it. And to me, that's going to be a big, big challenge for the Chiefs defense.
I tell you, man, that guy, he slips and scoops at the center position. Bruce Matthews and, guys we know, Don Mosbar, those were big guys that could kind of get up the field. They were lanky, they were long, and, Reid Donaldson too, another one of them dudes that could do shit like that. But, man, this guy, he's not a big dude. He slips and scoops, and like you said, it's on the back. This is what makes it so difficult. He gets in front of you, and it's the back's responsibility to read where he is. I mean, it's by design that he dictates the play.
Yeah.
And like you said, you could play your read, right, Bill? Perfectly. That guy's still there. It's up to the back to run behind him. I mean, it's almost undefensible if you're a defensive guy. And that means that most linebackers are going to have to really play well in Kansas City, I think, to try to stop that. Do they have that kind of personnel to stop that?
Yeah. So what you have to do, it's really tough, but you got to call what we call slow play it. We got to just slow play. You don't really commit to one side or the other. You get your hands on and get it locked out, and you kind of try to stall as long as you can to kind of like a mud puddle. You're just caught in there, just lagging around in there to just keep congestion in the area of the running lanes. But when you do that, right, it completely takes away your pass rush. So, that's the challenge at this offense. What happens in there, you get caught in looking at stuff and reading it, and you're not being explosive. You're not coming off the ball. You're not just penetrating, trying to blow things up. And it'll be interesting to see how Chris Jones and company handle it.
Oh, Bill, finally here. And one of the things that Hurts did, he didn't play well at all in the NFC title game, but they really didn't have to after Purdy got hurt. But I'll tell you what he does on the RPO. Fred Warner was sitting there, and he'll sit there, Bill, and he'll freeze him. You know what I mean? He freezes him in there, and you turn a 4-5 guy into a 4-8 guy, and he's late on tackle. So what you're saying about that zone blocking and Jalen sitting there and looking at the backer and making him slow play the play, he's going to always be chasing when he does that. And that's been a key all year to how they've been a dominant run team.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so hard. The defense you're using to try to slow it down, to put yourself in a position to actually make a play, actually paralyzes you to make a play. So that's the tough part of it. So it'll be interesting to see. On the other side of it too, let me tell you this. I don't think Philadelphia's defense have seen the likes of Patrick Mahomes all year in their conference.
Absolutely not.
And in their division.
That's been my criticism, Bill. My criticism has been this. David Mills, Kenny Pickett, Cooper Rush. They really haven't played a bona fide guy. And I'll put a point here to what you're saying here. Since week 11, most of them have averaged quarterbacks 74% completion percentage. If you give Patrick Mahomes 74% or higher completion percentage with Kelsey, and the Eagles struggle covering tight ends and backs out of the backfield, that's their weakness. That's the equalizer.
Yeah, I do. So, I think that both defenses are going to have their challenge with these offenses. I mean, look, they're 2 number 1 seeds, and it's a heck of a game, right?
Absolutely. Bill, thank you so much, brother. I'm one of your boys always, man.
I know, Dan. Good seeing you, brother.
You got it, man. The legendary Bill Maas from the Kansas City Chiefs, former rookie